There's always that one game. You see a few trailers, maybe IGN threw up a review, but it still goes under your radar, only to be uncovered later. For me, that hidden marvel is Vampyr, released June 5th, 2018 and developed by Don't Nod Entertainment, same team known for Life is Strange and another hidden gem I recommend called The Banished. Vampyr initially released to an average of 7 to 70s across gamer reviews, which shows that it wasn't that good, but not too bad either. You play as Dr. Jonathan Reed, a newly turned vampire doctor trying to figure out why he's been turned and a way to save the diseased city around him. The game has a system that tempts you into drinking the blood of citizens in exchange for boatloads of XP. Citizens will get sick and you'll need to make medicines to improve the blood quality and therefore up any amount of XP you get. Unfortunately, I don't think it was very fleshed out, and that made not eating citizens a very unrewarding task. So I decided to add a little challenge. With blood being such a big focus in this game's mechanics, can I beat Vampyr as a regular person? Now unfortunately I can't just be a regular person, but I thought I'd just abide by a few rules. Because the game already comes with an achievement called Not Even Once, which requires that you don't eat citizens, I will just amp it up. I won't be using vampiric abilities, not even stun bites, and no blood plowers, no ults. And I can only heal using potions, so I'm not eating civs and no rats. I plan on strictly relying on the game's melee and dodging system. I'm also going to give my honest opinion throughout, but feel free to let me know what you think about the game in the comments. Or, if you enjoyed this, let me know what you'd like to see next. But without further ado, let's jump right into Vampyr. And while I have you here, I just want to remind you to hit that like button and subscribe if you like more. Hitting that like button really lets YouTube know that I'm doing good and that you like the video, and they'll show more of me. Just to speed up our already fast forward journey, we begin as Dr. Reed in a pile of bodies. He doesn't know what's going on, all he knows is he's hungry and he thought he was dead. So we stumble across this red Snickers and he gets a bite. Definitely not going to come back to bite me in the end with an annoying boss fight, right? After finishing our Kool-Aid jammer, the game switches to a chase scene. It's the standard tutorial area, nothing special, just a linear back alley path teaching us the basics. Just finally found a place to rest our head, but the J-Man's feeling a bit down. Okay, a lot of it down. Let's just skip ahead a bit. There we go. The title card to lighten the mood. When John wakes up, we're led into an upgrade screen. These 4 abilities are going to be our bread and butter for the run, but the game requires that we pick 2 powers. So those will be the only 2 that we pick, and they'll be locked for the rest of the run. After sprinting away from the mob and getting into this unassuming bar, the game becomes a bit of a whodunit, and we have to talk to the citizens to investigate what's going on. I did like this section of the game just because I do like the detective aspect of it. It does really good with the questions in which you have to talk to someone, and certain conversations can lead to these things called hints. That'll give you a little bit of information about either that character or other characters around them, and that leads to new dialogues or sometimes items they can give you to unlock something else. It's really cool, and I really that was probably the best part of the game for me. Eventually we encounter Dr. Edgar Swansea, and after showing me his new dripped out cross, he decides to have a chat with us. Edgar lets us know he's not the Dunnit who we were looking for, and we come across his body in the boat, which leads to our little fast forward scene. It wasn't eventful, so I didn't care to show it, but it ends with finding the guy who really needs to lay off the meat. That introduces us to William Bishop. He'll be our first boss fight of the game. Since Billy B's the starter boss, you might have guessed that he ain't the hardest fight. He only serves to give us help with getting the hang of the combat and dodging. So a simple dodge and strike, and Billy B's going down in like 3 to 4 repeats of that. Billy's gone down, and we help his victim into our good friend Eddie's boat. We learn that his name is Sean, and that he's a priest from nearby, and that Eddie makes horrible decisions because he decided to let us, a newly turned vampire, work at his hospital. Don't get me wrong, this is cool and all just because we're the main character, but could have went horribly wrong. Just seems kind of stupid. Anyway, in addition to this fancy jacket that Eddie gives us, he also gives us our first safe house. It's gonna come in handy later when doing grinding, especially for those health packs. Just outside the hospital is the tail end of a knife, and depending on your choices, a very tenderized first meal. But Clay will live another day just for the sake of this run. This is just meant to give us the hang of the mesmerizing and feeding. That actually gives you a lot of XP if you're willing to go through with it. Progressing the story in chapter 2, we get a visit from a nurse who informs us that we're low on supplies, and she sends us off to go get some more. Now, they're located in the morgue, which isn't too tough to find. It's just behind the hospital in the back. Pretty similar to the alley, head upstairs, fight, unlock a door, fight, and then you stumble upon the boss. This fight, just like the intro, is a dodge and repeat. The only difference is John Doe teleports, so slightly more dodging. Beat our teleporting friend, craft a cure, bring it over to Nurse Crane, and talk to Eddie Boy, and we finish the mission. Eddie Boy lets us know someone at the hospital's been spilling the beans, and it's up to us to figure out who. So we head to the benefactor for a little chat. She looks a bit pale, but she's still pretty lively for the hospital. She sends us to find the blackmailer, which leads to the sewer, which has a few skull, but Nothing to really drop a cup at. The real issue here is the werewolf vampire that isn't a wolf and is actually not a vampire, it's a skull. It's very confusing as to what vampires really mean on this game. Anyway, Wolfman isn't too bad. He has a few physical resistances and that makes it a little bit longer to fight him with a melee weapon, but it shouldn't take too terribly long. If you didn't know, shotguns are super OP in this game, like stupid good. It just kind of shaves away the health bar, and this thing just happens to be super weak to shotguns as well. So bad combination for Wolfman. I will give the warning about dodging backwards. It has kind of a weird range, so it will get you most times. I tend to just go left or right. After dodging left or right, you'll get a real good opening to get about 2 shots in. Just make sure you get no shotgun shots off in between him moving or right as he's recovering. Before you know it, we've shaved our fuzzy friend. After the fight, we find a note leading us to a district named Whitechapel. Getting there was actually a lot more difficult than I imagined. There are a lot of enemies that are like 6 to 7 levels ahead of you, and a lot of times you're kind of packed in with a few of them surrounding you. But it does at least give you a chance to get the hang of dodging and everything. Eventually we encounter a sub-boss, nothing serious, just a name variant of the Prey Wind Heavies. Dodge left or right, give him a whack or two, and he's down quick. Here in Whitechapel we're looking for a specific guy, but it looks like he's really unwilling to talk with us, so we're gonna have to do some Joe style stalking. Wouldn't you know it, his name is Darius, and he is indeed helping the blackmailer, but we'll need some information before we can get inside. First person we speak to is Clayton Darby. He lets us know that Darius has no friends, and the only time he sees him leave is when he's going to his mailbox. So with this information, we raid Darius' mailbox and we go into the graveyard to search for Richard. Richard lets us know that Darius has a printing business. He doesn't really like the works that Richard brings over, but with this information, we can sweet talk our way into the door and then find our blackmailer. Going past the makeshift hospital, the blackmailer is revealed to be none other than Nurse Crane. And we're placed into a really quick surgery scene. Doesn't matter what you pick here as he dies anyway, so feel free to freestyle here. After the surgery, we're given a choice to decide Nurse Crane's fate. We can spare her, charm her, or embrace her. Can't remember which one leads to her becoming a pretty tough optional boss, but we'll just spare her for the sake of the run. Process, this creates a medical shop for us to get ingredients from. Before we leave the makeshift hospital, it's attacked by some not so vampire hunters, but it's nothing really much to stop them. On our way back to tell everybody at the hospital that everything's resolved, we're attacked by a duo sub-boss. Just the archer guy and a heavy, so make sure you're watching out for the archer and you get right past it. In best case scenario, you can actually take out the archer first, since they don't really have much defense against you. Back at the hospital, our benefactor is revealed to be a not so vampire, and the reveal is just so devious, so shameful that it shot us right into the next chapter. Because our buddy Eddie has dropped some devious news on us. Our sister has our funeral today, and we need to go attend that. Before leaving, I went upstairs and upgraded the hacksaw, because I figured level 2 wouldn't cut it for the bosses ahead. So I figured it's an opportune time to talk about this. It's important that every time you level up your weapon, you grab one of these perks as well. In this run, I'm gonna need enhanced damage, but there's always other augmentations as well. I think there's a phosphorus one or whatever that is, but most times it's just going to be this blood absorption perk. That's pretty much useless to us in this run, so we're going to go ahead and ignore it. Wandering into the cemetery, I came across my late sister who's definitely in that box. And also, my poor mom was just sitting there, like with both, thinking both her kids are dead, and we're just like Batman and standing above her, looking down. Lady Vampire shows up and tells us that we should vent our grief at the church. Yes, a vampire told another vampire to go to church. I thought it was crazy too. Before being able to continue, we're stopped by a hulking beast named Fergal. It says that we're disturbing some type of order, and I'm sure it's gonna have to do with some stupid rules about vampires not being vampires, but they're really vampires, and it's all a myth though. But on the way, we encounter our newest enemy type. Like the others, they're not too much of an issue. Their attacks are slow, and the most dangerous thing about them is this holy light they cast, but that's only really an issue in groups that are pretty easy to take down. We make it to Whitechapel and we confess a murder that we committed to a priest, and he only really tells us that she heard us, and that's fine. Is he really even a priest? On my way to the hospital, I encounter Philosophical Bloodman, who's thinking he's making a lot more sense than he actually is, or it's going over my head. Either way, he lets us pass. Back at the hospital, we encounter McCullum, the super upset leader of the vampire hunters known as the Bruin Guard. He threatens me and Eddie before storming out, but I'm sure those are just empty threats. With McCullum gone, we chat with Eddie, who lets us know it went down like a young jock song, and he's tasking us with finding a prologue priest. We learn from a few people that Sean is at the dock, hopefully this time not being eaten by a vampire, but you never know with him. This, however, leads into our next sub-boss, the flamethrower guy. He telegraphs everything he does, just like most things in this game. So the real issue is just going to be his entourage. If you can get them out of the way long enough, you can go ahead and just pretty much go ham on them, jumping behind them, whatever you need to do, because he doesn't really have too much to defend himself. He finds Sean in his makeshift shelter, and he lets us know that he wasn't the one that caused the ruckus, but he's looking a bit pale. We head off into the sewers because he has to show us that he's not the threat, and that there's more to life, I guess. I'm not really too sure why we went off his word, but we did. So adventure. Not much to the sewers, just one puzzle. Break the boxes blocking the door, and continue on until... Of course you're in the sewer. Sounding like a broken record, but it's the same with the Fergal fight. He's got about a 3-punch repeating that's super easy to dodge, and about halfway through he'll start summoning some of his clones. They each just use one of his hit strings, and he'll just end it by doing an AoE, which is also super easy to dodge. And just like that, in a couple minutes, Fergal's down. A lot of the bosses aren't very challenging, I'm noticing. And I know I've said that a few times now, but they just feel kind of similar to the Soldier of Godric fight from Elden Ring, where they're kind of a starter optional thing, but it's also really early, so I'll give it the pass for now. We stumble across a friendly group of Skull and find out that they've been helping Harriet Jones, a patient from the hospital whose rash seems to have gotten out of control. Harriet lets us know that she's not feeling well, which should seem very obvious, but she also notes hearing voices and told us that the voice that she heard killed someone for her. But since that's not a red enough flag, we push on. Once we get back to Sean, we get some options. We can spare him, which will become bloodthirsty and a pretty cool sub-boss later. We can embrace him, which is just killing him and eating him, and that goes against the run. However, if we have enough XP, we can turn him into a vampire, which counts because he's only drinking my blood and no one's been here. And it's not weird, you're weird. Upon leaving Sean's shelter, we investigate a body. It has bite marks reminiscent of a vampire bite. So we follow the blood trail. Wait, I just remembered I have DLC. If you do have the DLC, you're going to want to head over to this locker located in the Pembroke room. From there, you'll retrieve a sword, pistol, and his super snazzy jacket and hat. This is my favorite part of it. The weapons I don't really care about that much. The sword does about 210 in terms of damage, at least at the starting level 4, but when you upgrade it, it does about 235. I'm not super sure about the pistol, but that's only because I didn't take much time to do it, because shotguns rule this game. They completely shred in this game with obnoxious damage, especially Milton shotgun, which isn't expensive at all and you can buy super early. I don't really remember much about the shotgun's damage, so I'm just going to put the information on the screen for it. But now I'm thinking about it, the starter level weapons can actually take you straight to the end of this game. The hacksaw itself goes from 65 damage to 200 damage at level 5. That's not even including like the damage perks that would are on it. So it might be a little bit above, if not on the same pace with the sword. But that's all to the DLC. It's just a cosmetic item and 2 weapons. I'm pretty sure the sword you can get kind of closer to the end game without the DLC. So it doesn't really matter. It's not really all that worth it. Back to the mission at hand. We resume following the blood trail until we're led back into the cemetery where we find Mary. Johnny's dear sister has risen from the dead, even though it's not really explained how, because she didn't have any of our blood. I don't know if we like dripped some blood into her mouth by accident somehow. Like she just kind of woke up after we drained her of blood. But if you drain anybody else on this game, they aren't getting up as vampires. It's just a little confused, but never mind. Mary is one of the toughest bosses on the game, so you're gonna need a lot of health stems. She's got a nice attack mix-up that can cut you short when you're trying to go on the offensive, but she leaves herself open in between attacks, so be looking out to exploit that. Shotguns, like with most bosses on this game, is super effective, so be sure to stock up on bullets. Now ladies and gentlemen, although we have all these supplies, be conservative about how you use them, just because about halfway through, she'll drain the priest, and that's a complete reset of the fight. Almost forgot to mention her AoE. It'll knock you down and do some damage over time, but it's nothing to worry about because it's super easy to dodge, unless you're stuck by a wall. So with a little patience, down goes Mary. I really like the Mary boss fight. Not only did it add a challenge to the game, it added the nice emotional moment for John, having to put down his sister he thought dead. It just added more weight to John's mission of having to stop this outbreak. It was just a really cool moment in the game. Yo, thanks for making it this far into the video. I really appreciate it. I noticed that 96.9% of my viewers are typically not subscribed. So do me a favor now while you got time. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're at it, go ahead and hit that like button too. Let me know down below what you would like to see in these videos and any other games you would like me to do. But I'll just get back to it. Peace. After a shortcut scene, we put some levels into health and stamina, and we vent to Edison. The mission now is to get to the Lady Vampire's house, so we head across the docks and stop for a chat with Bloodman. Although he's still talking to riddles, I gather he's got some sneaky plans for us. Nothing to worry about until it's too late though. After making it to the city, we can see that the streets are in disarray, which means we're probably going to see some tough enemies, and I'm going to need to grind some mid shot. The city luckily has a really good spot for that. Just outside of Jonathan's childhood home, you can kind of go in the surrounding area around the outside window, and what you just want to do is kill everything there. Hopefully they drop the materials you need, then you sleep to repeat the pattern. If you didn't know, skulls and humans will fight each other, so a little thing that I did to make sure that I wasn't using too many supplies while grinding was to just make them fight each other and then I'd swoop in for their last hit. I make it over to Ashbury Mansion, and the vampire lady lets us know that the secretive vampire cult wants to speak with us, which means they're either going to want us to join them or kill us. Either way, we head off. We make way, but we encounter a new enemy type. This time that's a maybe vampire. These enemies aren't normally tough, but since we're doing the no blood, no power run, they're huge problems. They use all the abilities we normally would, plus a grab dash, so be on the lookout for that one. All their attacks are typically super telegraph. For example, if they do that blood spike thing, you'll see it kind of bubbling a little bit. They're going to do that grab dash, they'll start crouching. You'll see it, so just make sure you watch your stamina so you can dodge it. After a long battle through the streets, we finally reach the Ascalon Club, which looks like they saw a few battles themselves. Heading upstairs, we meet Lord Redgrave, very cool vampire name by the way, an apparently ancient vampire who boasts being turned by a legendary knight. He gives us a series of choices and indeed lets us join the club. The task now is finding the source of infection, and although we've been doing that already, we find out that the source is a couple not so vampires. We head off to confront the first source, but I'm sensing there's an upcoming boss fight and I'm gonna need to grind out some med stems. Now I'm nitpicking a bit here, but it was so annoying to get the correct vials to spawn. This took so much longer than it should have. I'm not saying that they should just turn up the spawn rate specifically for health, but I feel like out of all of the things there that you can make, stamina, blood, whatever that you'd probably use for the magic there, those just spawn so much more than the actual health blood vial. The first fight intros our new enemy variant, Poison Skulls. Much like the normal, it isn't much of a problem. They fight super similar, except they have poison spit that does a lot of damage on impact and even more over time. They also explode when killed, so be sure to dodge after you kill them. Next boss fight is the same, but this time you're getting jumped, so just be ready to dodge a little more. Get a few strikes in, rinse and repeat, and these two go down. After defeating those skulls, we learn from a note that they came into contact with an actress named Doris at the theater nearby. So it's time to go pay her a wellness check. Working our way through the theater, we see that Doris has grossly mutated and is delirious, thinking that she's still an actress, or at least wanting to still believe that. After a brief intro showcasing her mastery of her dramatic art, Doris shows just how tough she is in combat too. She has this really long reaching arm which does a lot of damage on impact and then poisons you as well. And poison is no joke in this game. She's got a super damaging AoE that also does poison, and on top of that, she summons enemies to the battlefield. Not to mention that she also has a 3-hit pattern with her sword. Getting caught between that and her lackeys was not fun at all. I almost got her first try, but that poison as soon as it hits is just a huge problem. So you're going to want to pay attention to her patterns and make sure you have health shots ready. Luckily enough, shotguns are just super duper effective against Doris. So if you want and you have enough bullets, you can pretty much just melt her away in between her attack. And with that, the curtain closes and it's good night Doris. Doris, coming to her senses, realizes the threat that she is and asks us for one more compliment before ending her suffering. The scene here was actually super enjoyable. I enjoyed the peek through of humanity from Doris that we don't really see too much with all the characters. I hope they make a 2, and I hope that's something that they more in-depthly explain the deep feelings of the characters, what's going on internally, because even with Jonathan, you can eat everyone on the game, but you'll never really even see too much of a difference in his dialogues or how he's responding. There's only the few dialogues that you can take in which you have to make him aggressive. I wish there's more of a system of the more people you eat, the difference you see in terms of the dialogue that he chooses to do. We head back to the club and we're informed that we slowed the epidemic a little bit, but not enough. And we now have a new task. There was a rich old human that was a part of the group, and he's gonna be dying soon. So we're instructed to turn him. We head to the mansion, but we encounter a blockade that got set up to fight the infection. So we're gonna have to find a secret entrance. Wouldn't you know it, there's a vampire conveniently guarding a hole in the ground. That's definitely probably not the tunnel. Beat him, and now we're on another journey back into the sewer. When you get in, you immediately encounter a mini boss fight. It's exactly the same as the Fergal fight, but a lot easier. Just repeat the dodge strategy we use for Fergal, and he goes down quick. After this, it's pretty straightforward from here. A few skulls and a super annoying vampire sub-boss, and right into the mansion. We chatted up with Aloysius to figure out why he wants to be a vampire, and we learned he's planning on building a wall that will trap the poor in with the skull, and allow the rich to get out of the infection. After discussing his intentions, the game begins a choice scene in which we get the option to either turn him, which will secure his eternity and allow his evil plan, embrace him, in which we could just drain him and kill him, but that goes against the run. However, there is a third option. If you head over to this portion here and you speak with Carolyn, we can learn that Aloysius had a brother who passed away and he's afraid to die as a result. Mentioning this in the charm option allows us to make him okay with dying, and in exchange, he donates money and medical supplies to some of the neighborhood. This brings the neighborhoods to 100% for a while, so that way you don't have to worry about it. And with Big Al permanently dead, there's no doubt the club will not like this. We did a lot of good with that choice, but we don't really get much time to celebrate it because the hospital's been attacked. So we rush over there, and you're gonna encounter a lot of Frywin guards along the way, but I don't really have time for that and not that many health packs, so I just skip straight over to the hospital. They're pretty easy to run past. Making it to the hospital, we learn that they arrived and roughed up our buddy Eddie. And yep, I'm sure you smell it too. A boss fight is on the horizon. And wouldn't you guess, it's McCollum. This battle is just a steroided up mix of every pre-run guard enemy we fought so far. Let me tell you, I don't think I was ready to get this annoyed. McCollum was a seriously annoying fight. He has a dumb strong 3 to 4 hit melee string and a gun if you're getting a bit too far away. To top it off, he has these enchanted lights and they're constantly flashing while you're fighting. So you're taking damage over time, and he's coming at you with OP hits. You won't be able to fully dodge the lights, at least I wasn't, so just be ready with some health stems. Pretty easy to dodge in phase 1, so just whittle them away, and about halfway through, the lights will start to flash more erratically, and McCollum will start his attacks with a charge. Biggest issue in the second half is the light. So as long as you got the stamina to punish him after he charges, then the hunter gets hunted. Having been beaten, McCollum lets us know that the Private Guard kidnapped Eddie for helping us. The game then gives us the option to decide his fate. We can A, spare him, turn him into an ally later, or B, turn him into a vampire, forcing our curse upon him, and leaving him to be hunted by the very people that he rallied against us. For the sake of the run, we're going to give him the good old talk no jutsu, and ensure his help in the end game. I believe this was the best boss fight by far. I like the gimmick with the lights and everything. I'd say the only ones that kind of equal up to it would be Mary and Doris. But from here on out, there aren't too many that really capture the eye like those fights. I'm not a game developer, so I can't really speak to what goes into making a good boss, but the gimmick has got to be a huge part of it. There's something about dodging the lights and McCollum itself that made it satisfying to defeat him. And it was kind of the same with both the Doris and Mary fights. There was something to both of them, even though both did like a damage over time of poison. Beating them just felt satisfying upon the final defeat. Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to go like tough at Vampyr, because I do love this game. This game was actually really fun. It has its annoying portions of it, but the biggest thing I will say is that none of the bosses, a lot of the bosses for me at least, felt really generic. They didn't really have a memorable spot for it, and I guess we'll see a little bit more of that later. Having been tipped off by McCollum, we head over to the camp set up by the Firing Guard in the theater. We kill everyone in the theater before finding a letter that reveals Eddie's downstairs, so we take the key and exit stage left. Alright, whatever, I thought it was funny. Killing the guard that's guarding our boy Eddie, we head down and we finally get to talk to him about his work. We learn that the current infection crisis is actually his fault. He used the lady vampire's blood to try to treat disease, and it went terribly wrong. And having confessed all this, the game gives us a set of choices for his life. We can let him die, which also kind of puts an end to the hospital district since he's the figurehead of it. We can embrace him, which basically does the same thing, but goes against the run. Or I could turn him, which, spoiler alert, he's very happy about. Pleased with his newfound immortality, we give Eddie some time to think about it. When we head off to let Lady Ashbury know, Eddie used her blood, causing this problem, and she isn't too happy about it, to say the least. Ashbury decides she needs some space, so we leave her for our next mission. We learn from that note that we read while finding Eddie that there's a cure for the angry vampire blood disease. It's a surprisingly easy cure to make. We only need blood from that legendary knight, which I doubt the Ascalon Club will just let us walk out with, blood from King Arthur, which we get from our friend McCollum, and some insulin, which we could find at the hospital. Our first stop is the Ascalon Club. I figured I'd get the tough part out of the way first because it's smelling like a boss battle. And what do you know? It's just a sub-boss this time though. Luckily, he isn't too much of an issue. He's just a standard vampire enemy. So just watch out for his lunge and vampire powers. Might take a little while to get him down, especially since the levels are going up now. I think he'll be about 10 levels ahead of you. But if you have a little patience, then down goes Vampire Man. Heading upstairs back to see Lord Redgrave again. He actually doesn't put up a fight, and he hands over the blood pretty easily. In the morgue, you'll encounter Private Guard, with all of them being at least 10 levels ahead of you. So you're gonna want to be on your best defense here. You only really need to clear out this floor, so just go ahead and kill these guys and grab the insulin. Heading to the graveyard, I took the shortcut to avoid enemies before taking care of the few people around McCollum. We have a quick chat with McCollum, and he gives us our final ingredient. We head back to the safe house and craft the potion, meaning I'm officially ready to end the torment of this run. I forgot to mention that Eddie let us know that patient 0 was actually an angry old lady named Harriet, the lady that we just left in the friendly skull hive, and this is why they hate vampires. We go through the sewers and follow the blood trail that Harriet left us, and then finally get confronted by Bloodman. He's a little more clear in his words now and informs us that he turns us into a vampire for the purpose of being its champion to fight the plague. Turns out this was caused by an angry vampire god queen who comes back every so often. Bloodman awakens to choose a champion to put her back to sleep. We're sent off to confront her champion Harriet Jones and to end this once and for all. However, we have a new problem. We don't have many health shots and absolutely no time to grind it out, so we push on to Harriet Jones. As for this boss, she's probably the toughest on the game. Died to her a few times. She has nothing new actually. She's just the same as the Doors fight. However, her poison hits 10 times harder. That hit from the tentacle whip is going to do some damage, but that poison's what's really going to take you out super quick. If you dodge it though, she's open for a couple hits or a good spray of your gun. Harriet's fight was just a pretty slow back and forth until she explodes, and then that begins phase 2. This is the blood god queen that Bloodman was talking about. That was a confusing sentence. Let me say that saying I was expecting more would be an understatement. She was a super easy fight. She fights kind of similar to McCollum, where she's just a combo of all the vampire enemies. She can summon minions that are super easy to get by, so you can really focus on her. She uses blood magic and she's super weak to shotguns. I'm talking about she's taking the most damage I've seen on this game from shotguns. And she leaves herself open after every attack. She doesn't really recover as fast as I thought she would. I say the toughest attack of hers to dodge was the air dive, but that's because I'm not good at dodging overall. So down goes Blood Queen, surprisingly quickly. After beating the Blood Queen, she disappears just as she arrived, really quickly. They had a small chat, and I guess that was supposed to drop some lore on us, but there wasn't really anything that added credence to her being a huge threat. It almost kind of felt like an optional boss with a cutscene. We chat with Bridger, who decides to thank us by dropping some lore on us. Turns out she's Lord Redgrave's wife, but something went wrong and she became a Skull. Redgrave abandoned her, and she spent 200 years cultivating that Skull camp that we seen. Promising to tell our story, she points us in the direction of Lady Ashbury. One cutscene in the puzzle later, and we meet Lady Ashbury and that legendary knight that started the Ascalon Club. Turns out, he was Bloodman's original champion, but he got infected with the blood rage, and he's been hidden here so that he doesn't hurt anyone. He and I have a short chat before ending his suffering, and Lady Ashbury and I go off into the sunset. And that, ladies and gentlemen, has been the story of Vampyr. Overall, I think it was a great game. You should pick up a copy yourself. It wasn't the most challenging thing in the world if you played something like Dark Souls or Elden Ring at all, but who really cares if it's a good enough game? I also would have liked more explanation into the world. I feel like it introduced these 3 casts of vampires, the Skulls, the Icons, and whatever Virgo was, without real explanation as to what's the difference between the transformations and how each one occurs type of thing. Even if you don't explain that, at least throw a little bit more backstory into like Bloodman or the Blood Queen at all. It just left me a little bit confused. Maybe if they do plan on making a sequel, they can explain further into that one. Anywho, won't you let me know what you thought about Vampyr in the comment section? And if you watched the video all the way to the end, type Eddie Boy in the comment section so I know that you made it. My name is Tenergy. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and take care of yourself.